Hello guys and welcome back to the Submission Addiction. In today's video I will be predicting UFC Fight Night in Azerbaijan for the first time. Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill going up against Khalil Rountree Jr. This fight has been booked like 3 times. It has been cancelled at least 1 time, and I believe it has been cancelled 2 times. So this is the 3rd time they're booking this fight. It looks like we're gonna get it finally. Because I'm actually pretty excited for it, I would say. Let's just get straight into it by predicting the prelims. In the first fight of the night, we have Hamdi Abdelwahab going up against Mohammed Usman. Of course, the little brother of Kamaru Usman, who just got a huge win. I would even say an upset win, but yeah, let's break this fight down. So these guys are the epitome of, heavyweights that are in the UFC, because then the UFC has fights to make. Basically, these types of fighters, these types of heavyweights especially, are in the UFC to give the UFC the position to make a fight card every week, basically. They're not gonna be ranked. They're not gonna do anything special. They're there because, then they have a bigger roster, and then they can make fights like every week. Anyways, I'm expecting this to be a pretty boring fight. Even though Hamdi Abdelwahab weighs more than Mohammed Usman and of course carries a lot more body fat. I think that's pretty obvious. I don't even think that Mohammed Usman is much more athletic than Hamdi Abdelwahab. And I'm going to pick Hamdi Abdelwahab by a pretty lackluster decision in a pretty boring fight to open the fight card. This fight is... we saw Hamdi Abdelwahab in his last performance. I can't even remember who it was against. He goes out there, gets I don't want to say a robbery decision win, because it was a close competitive fight. But again, it was a close competitive fight against someone who shouldn't be in the UFC. And these guys shouldn't even be in the UFC, so... what are we doing? Okay, moving on. We have Tagir Ulanbekov going up against Asad Maxim. And this fight, on the other hand, is actually interesting and actually feels like it has somewhat of an impact. Of course, Tagir Ulanbekov, I believe he's ranked number 11, number 12 in the flyweight division. Asad Maxim has only had 1 or 2 fights. Anyways, as you can see here, he's coming off a loss. I think it was a decision loss to Charles Johnson. Correct me if I'm wrong. And Charles Johnson is a good fighter. He's a good flyweight. But I have to go Tagir Ulanbekov in this fight. And I'm probably saying a decision. I think that Asad Maxim, if he could go to the decision with a guy like Charles Johnson, he can also go to the decision with a guy like Tagir Ulanbekov. I am leaning towards the higher level experience of Tagir Ulanbekov. He has had more UFC fights than Asad Maxim, even though they have had equal as many fights. There's not, as you can see the stats here, apart from the weight, Asad Maxim must have been like bantamweight or something, I don't remember. Apart from the weight, they are dead even on the stats. And I just think that the higher level experience of Tagir Ulanbekov will be too much for Asad Maxim. No. Alright. Ismail Nawadiev, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, against John Young Park, the Iron Turtle. Ismail I'm just gonna call him Ismail from now on. All right, he had a stint in the UFC. He didn't do great. He didn't do too good, to be honest. He goes out of the UFC. He has 6 or 7 fights where he goes 3 wins and 3 losses, or 4 wins and 3 losses, and that is not great, especially when you're not even in the UFC. He gets cut from the UFC, goes 3-3 or 4-3, comes back to the UFC, beats Bruno Silva by decision. But we have seen how much Bruno Silva has fallen off. This guy, I don't think he'll be able to hold his own against Jung Yong Park, the Iron Turtle. I am leaning towards a Jung Yong Park submission in this fight. He had like a couple of years ago, in 2022 or 2023 or something like that, he had like a 3-fight win streak where he got 3 submissions, all by rear naked choke, I believe. He could win by rear naked choke in this one as well. I am picking a Jung Yong Park submission win in this one. Ismail doesn't have he has the experience actually at a higher level in the UFC, but he doesn't have the skill set. He doesn't have what it takes to cut it in here. Whereas Jung Yong Park consistently delivers good performances in the cage, in the octagon. The experience, the skill set is with Jung Yong Park here, and I'm picking him to win this fight. As we get on to the last fight on the prelims, Seo Kyun Ko or something like that against Oban Elliott. This guy, it looks like he's 1-0. I don't think that's right. I have the event here, so let's look at his. Yeah, he's 11-2 UFC, but I believe, yeah, this is his UFC debut against Oban Elliott. And Oban Elliott, if I remember correctly, actually has some experience and wins in the UFC. He has, alright, 3 wins. Val Woodburn, not impressive. Preston Parsons, not impressive. But Basil Hafiz by knockout. To be honest, that's not even that impressive. But he has that UFC experience. Still, he actually was very active last year. So 3 fights in 1 year for Oban Elliott. Yeah, the UFC experience, the UFC level will be too much for Seo Kyun Ko in his debut at the UFC. I think that Oban Elliott's, Oban Elliott is not the guy that you want to build a debutant of. As Oban Elliott's skill set, his position in the division is too high for a guy like Seo Kyun Ko, who is making his debut, to go out there and look impressive and get the win. So Oban Elliott will win this fight. I would probably say by. It doesn't look good to win against Val Woodburn by decision, but I am picking the KO here. I think he'll land something big, follow it up, maybe even a body shot. Yeah, I think that the skill set here is on another level. As we get on to the main card, we have Mohamed Naimov going up against Bogdan Grad, and Mohamed Naimov actually is not a huge favorite, but a favorite, but a remarkable, but a decent favorite in this one. And he, to be honest, he should go out there and get the win done in this fight. Bogdan Grad has only had one fight, I believe, in the UFC won the fight by knockout. Anyways, actually looked pretty impressive. I believe, if I remember correctly, he lost the first round and then came back in the second round and mauled the other guy. He could, I mean, if this fight, if this fight ends by a finish, I would say that Bogdan Grad probably gets that finish. If it ends by decision, I do believe that Muhammad Naimov will drag this fight out and get a decision win, probably 29-28. Don't be surprised if Bogdan Grad goes out there. I don't believe he's from Romania, actually. If I remember correctly, he's from Austria. Don't be surprised if Bogdan Grad goes out there and gets the finish, but the official pick from me is Muhammad Naimov by decision. You know, he's a guy that he's a bit of a decision merchant, efficient one of that, but still, Bogdan Grad is more of a finisher than Muhammad Naimov. As we proceed to Nazim Sadikov versus Nicholas Mota. This is a bit of a weird fight. You know, you have this athletic, tall guy going up against Nicholas Mota. Notice that actually, he looks like a goblin from Clash of Clans. You know, from the Supercell games. He looks like a bit of a midget in this picture, little fat midget. No, I'm sorry. Of course, you know, you can see in his arms and his chest, he actually do carry some muscle. But of course, Nazim Sadikov just looks more like an athlete. Anyways, this should be Nazim Sadikov getting the win here. Nicholas Mota, let's just check his topology actually. I looked at this before I made this video. I believe that he is coming off a... Yeah, alright, so he was on a 2-fight win streak. Yeah, I mean, he lost to Jim Miller, he lost to Manuel Torres by knockouts. Whereas Nazim Sadikov, he gets a lot of KOs. He was the guy to get that weird doctor stoppage against Ismail Bonfim. I don't even remember how that was. I think, was it an eye poke or something? Because it went the full first round and then the fight was cancelled. Got the rear naked choke against Terence McKinney. Alright. Nazim Sadikov will get this fight done by KO, I think, in the second round, I'll say. Nicholas Mota is probably a bit chinny. He got finished by Jim Miller. He got finished by... Shit, I can't even remember the other guy's name. But he has been knocked out a couple of times in the UFC. Nazim Sadikov, the home favorite. It says Russia here. I believe that he walks out by the Azerbaijani flag. This is it's a bit of a gifted win for Nazim Sadikov, of course, representing Azerbaijan. You want to get an Azerbaijani win while they're there. Tawfiq Musayev, another Azerbaijani fighter, going up against Mykçubek Orulbay. This is Tawfiq Musayev's UFC debut, of course representing Azerbaijan. Mykçubek Orulbay representing Kyrgyzstan, I believe it is called. As you can see, Mykçubek Orulbay, taller, more reach. 159. Was it a catch weight in his last fight against Mateusz Rąbecki? I don't remember. Anyways, Mykçubek Orulbay had one of the best fights of the year in 2024 against Mateusz Rąbecki. Ended up losing close competitive fight, but that was an absolutely war. He can take some punishment, this guy. Tofik Musayev, I believe that he'll be finished in this one. Muktabek Odrobay can do it all. He can knock you out. He can submit you. This is it's one of these situations where you are wondering if Tofik Musayev is being signed by the UFC just because he's from Azerbaijan, and I believe that, whereas Muktabek Odrobay clearly has that UFC level. So by skill set, by experience, Muktabek Odrobay will get the finish in here. I don't think that this fight will be too competitive, and you should probably, it doesn't say anything about the odds down here, but you should expect Muktabek Odrobay to be a pretty big favorite. All right, Curtis Blades going up against another debutant in Rizvan Kuniev. Rizvan Kuniev, I believed he popped for like 4 different types of steroids, 4 types of testosterone enhancing steroids, which is absolutely insane. And the UFC should not even sign this guy. They should, destroy his contract, eliminate his contract. Why do we sign obvious cheaters? It's not like he was popping for 1 testosterone enhancing steroid. He was popping for 4 testosterone enhancing steroids. That's absolutely insane. And then he's still a blob, but fair enough. He's here. This fight has been rebooked a couple of times as well. I also believe this is the 3rd or 4th time this fight is being booked. They're pretty big guys, 6'4", each of the guys, like around the heavyweight limit. Curtis has more reach, has more leg reach, and has the experience. I really don't see Rizvan Kuniev getting this fight done. I don't see him winning this fight, to be honest. Curtis Blades, he has that. Not only does he have the UFC experience, he has the UFC top-level experience. He has faced Derek Lewis, to whom he lost. He has faced Tom Aspinall, to whom he lost. But he has also, he got the fluke win, and I'm calling it what it is, a fluke win against Jailton Almeida. Jailton Almeida was fucking him up in the first round. But fair enough, he has a knockout win against Jailton Almeida. He has fought against guys like Tom Aspinall, Derek Lewis, Jailton Almeida, and so on. And that you can't prepare for that level of experience if you're Rizvan Kuniev. So this is an easy pick for me. Curtis Blades will get this fight done. I believe he will get Rizvan Kuniev down, get the ground and pound going, and getting the TKO. Or if not, just stand up with him. Curtis Blades is somewhat slow himself, but I still believe that his skills will get him the TKO. Probably in round Hill, I'll say in round 1. I don't think that Rizvan Kuniev has anything to do in this sport, in the UFC, sorry, especially when he's such a cheater. Alright, the co-main event is Rafael Fiziev, of course. It says here, I really think that these countries are incorrect, because he has always represented Azerbaijan. Anyways, Rafael Fiziev versus Ignacio Bahamondes. This is a bit of a tricky fight. Rafael Fiziev, is he on a 3-fight losing streak? I actually think he is, right? He lost a very close, very competitive decision against Justin Gaethje. He lost by knee injury to Mateusz Gamrot, and then he just lost again, very close, very competitive fight against Justin Gaethje. So yeah, I believe he's on a 3-fight losing skid. Whereas Ignacio Bahamondes doesn't have the prettiest record, but actually is doing quite well in the UFC. And this is a tough one to pick because something, you know, there's a difference between losing to Justin Gaethje and losing to Ignacio Bahamondes. But I must be honest, I'm not buying into and have never bought into the Rafael Fiziev hype. I think that he's overrated, always has been. He's a great fighter, he deserves to be ranked. But I will probably pick Ignacio Bahamondes in this one by a very close, very competitive decision. Again, making Rafael Fiziev going on a 4-fight losing streak, which would be really insane because people were touting him to be like a top 5 guy by this point in his career. But yeah, Ignacio Bahamondes, we have seen him taking punishment before, taking damage. He held up, he has won in adversity, whereas Rafael Fiziev, he tends to have an amazing first round, an absolutely amazing first round, and then goes on to gas himself out in the second, which always ends up close, and third round, which also ends up a close round. But he always ends up like losing the second and third round because he's gassed, even though he makes it competitive. And I think that we are about to see the same story against Ignacio Bahamondes, which would be tough for the only well-known Azerbaijani fighter. Are there others? I can't really, on the top of my head, I can't think of any others. That would be tough in his home country, but yeah, and I get that his last fight against Justin Gaethje was on short notice, but Justin Gaethje is like 37 and not that good. So, and I'm just gonna say I believe that Justin Gaethje is overrated and always has been. Alright, so the official pick, Ignacio Bahamondes by decision. Don't be surprised if Rafael Fiziev gets this fight done. Who's the favorite? It doesn't say. Alright, that's fair enough. The main event time. Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill against Khalil Rountree Jr. This fight is tough to pick, actually. I can't really figure out who I believe will win this fight. Jamal Hill, I get that he's on a multiple fight losing streak. He lost to, of course, Alex Pereira at UFC 300. Lost to Jiri Prochaska last time out. I can't remember what event that was on. Khalil Rountree, of course. He got let's just say what it is. That was a really undeserved title shot he got against Alex Pereira. Fair enough, he pulled up. And he was actually competitive in the first 2 rounds with Alex Pereira. Of course, ended up being done pretty bad by Poatan, but put up a good fight, a lot more impressively than Jamal Hill. I think that Khalil Rountree is somewhat of a favorite in this fight, and that's fair if you compare their performances, their respective performances against Alex Pereira, of course. But it surprises me that so many, like almost the entire fan base, are just saying that Khalil Rountree will go out there and murder Jamal Hill, which I find strange because Jamal Hill, he is a good fighter. And I will, fuck it. I'm picking Jamal Hill in this fight, and I'm picking him by KO. I get that Khalil Rountree can take some damage. Jamal Hill can. Let's not forget that Jamal Hill also can take some damage, and I think he could weather the storm of Khalil Rountree Jr. Getting the 5th round KO, 4th round KO, TKO, I think. Yeah. I don't really have it. That's just a feeling that I have, that maybe it's because that the entire fan base is just picking Khalil Rountree, probably because no one likes salty Jamal Hill. But I think that Jamal Hill could actually win this fight, which would be, I wouldn't like it. I'm cheering for Khalil to win, but while Jamal Hill is one of the saltiest fighters we have ever seen, let's not forget that Khalil Rountree Jr. popped for steroids, and so therefore I don't get why he's such a big of a fan favorite. But yeah, I'm picking on the underdog in the main event. Alright guys, I think that was it for me today. Remember to subscribe to the Submission Addiction if you like my predictions videos, and follow for more content. Please remember to like the video and comment your predictions if you think that I'm totally wrong. That will be quite interesting to see your guys' picks, because I just, I took a look at the fighters' respective topology pages and compared them. Some of, of course, not guys like Jamal Hill and Khalil Rountree, but fighters that on the prelims that I didn't know. So if you guys have a feeling that one of these prelim guys fights I have totally wrong, let me know in the comments down below. Remember to subscribe to the Submission Addiction, and I'll see you guys.